Hey.
You've missed us, haven't you?
Here we are, coming to you live from...
Luca,
Oh, right.
it's your first training, and we're going to talk about how... What are we talking about?
Finding the opening to talk about health and coaching through your Facebook messages. We're super excited to talk about this because we've been spending a lot of time focusing on this with our new coaches coming on, and I think it's been really beneficial to talk through it ourselves, and we wanted to share it with everybody. So
Everybody.
Okay. So
Not the purpose of this.
we talk a lot about, and we've talked about it personally many times, how important it is to start your Facebook Messenger conversations so that you're bringing people into your world, right? So that we can offer them the gift of health. What we don't often spend a ton of time talking about, though, is how to develop the relationship once you've got the conversation started.
Then what? Now these people are talking to you.
It's what do we do?
What do we do with these people?
And so we've been asked
How long am I going to be talking to them?
Right.
Do I invite them for Thanksgiving?
Okay. So we've been talking about this a lot.
Don't do it.
Our progression in messaging has changed over time, and so we kind of wanted to share it with you because we're finding it a lot more effective now and able to bring on clients as well as coaches.
Message-lution? It's evolved over time. It's the message-lution.
Yes.
You don't want me here, do you?
I do. I need arm candy. Just kidding. I love her brain.
Not just a pretty
I love
face.
her brain. Okay, so
You hear the way she talks to us?
this has evolved for us over time, and we wanted to kind of share what we've come to with how to do it. So what I want you to remember when you're thinking about starting these conversations on Messenger is that everything we do is about developing a relationship, right? Because we're not trying, we're trying to become a part of these people's lives to the point that they feel comfortable enough when they are looking for possibly a health answer or an answer to a financial situation that they have or a job that they don't like, that they know who to turn to when that comes to them. And so a lot of times I get the question, like, are we supposed to stay in conversation with people until the end of time? And I never want anybody to come away from any of our discussions or trainings about this with that idea. That's not what you're going to do. What you're going to do and what we're trying to do is to establish enough rapport and enough of a relationship so that if and when the conversation naturally fades away, now it won't fade away because you didn't answer, right? Because we respond to all of our messages. But say the person you're communicating with, they sort of fall off. They don't see your message come in or they forget to respond to it. And that conversation naturally fades away for a while. And when the time comes that that person you were talking to later, it could be a month later, 2 months later, could be a year or 2 years later, they either see it before and after, or they're watching your lifestyle and they're beginning to wonder how you've managed to make this life for yourself, or how your clients are doing these transformations. It's really easy to reach back out to you and to ask about the program because they've already talked to you before. This is much easier than if they were trying to cold call you and just message somebody they didn't know at all. Super odd and could feel stalkerish to people because what do you say? Oh, I've been watching your Facebook page for a while. Like, it's hard to pull that off and still sound like a normal person. So
She's fallen asleep.
Perfect. She's
bored her to sleep.
She's a very difficult baby to manage, as you can tell.
Completely unmanageable and kind of useless as a colleague. She's not getting a whole lot done.
No, she's not.
But what you're doing is bridging the gap so that it's easier for people to reach out about a sensitive topic. So there's that piece.
Right.
But then there's also the fact that quite often people are giving you these little doors to ask them a little bit more, or to talk about health, or to talk about coaching. And sometimes we're blind to it in the beginning. Like, we've looked through our Messenger, like, back when we first started, and we'll, like, look through it, and Crystal's like, oh, like, this person kind of said that they needed to lose weight, and we, like, dropped the ball. Or, oh, this person kind of mentioned, like, that they have low energy and they wish they had more energy for their kids. Now we would use that as a reason to go there, but back then we were kind of missing these opportunities. Same thing with coaching.
Right. And so when we're often asked, like, So first of all, how do I develop the relationship? The way you're going to develop the relationship is by asking questions. Sometimes this takes more effort on your part than on their part, because when you get a message from somebody out of the blue, you think one of two things. Either they're a terrorist trying to recruit you, or they're trying to sell you something. That's what I think anyway. Obviously, we're not trying to do either one of those things. So it takes a little time before a lot of people warm up to the idea of talking to you. So you send a message, like we've posted in a group, we're responding now to the comments in that group like we've been trained to do. And I write a message and I say, thank you so much for your comment. How interesting, I've never been to Vancouver. How long have you lived there? Do you love living there? We live in Salt Lake. And then I'll hit send and I'll friend request them. Often they will write back with 1 or 2 words, right? Something like 10 years. And that's it. Because they're suspicious of why you're writing.
Like they asked me a question, so I feel like I need to answer it, but I really don't want to talk to this person.
So in that case, like your first thought is, well, am I going to respond to that? What is that? But what I try to do...
Now, Crystal.
No.
Crystal's like, really? 2 words?
I say, we're going to be friends, my friend. Friends.
My friend.
My friend. And so I will go back with something like, oh, that's amazing. I always think, I've never lived somewhere that long. I always think it'd be cool to live somewhere that long and really know all about the area. You know, do you love it there? Do you think you'll always stay there? And just asking another question. And you don't need to write War and Peace. You're just trying to get to know them.
And then their terrorist meter goes down. They're like, oh, maybe this person isn't a terrorist.
Right, it's going down.
They're actually interested in me, and I'm lonely.
And you might have several exchanges like this where they're pretty limited in what they're saying to you. And when you just continue to ask genuine questions about them, over time, they'll start to ask you questions as well. And this is where these openings to talk about health and to talk about coaching start to show up. Now, early on, I would just get so set on getting through my messages that I was missing all kinds of these openings. I was waiting for somebody to open that door and slam me in the face with it and say, oh, tell me about your program, right?
I need to lose weight. Can you help me?
Yes. What I have found over time is that there are several opportunities in the course of a conversation very naturally, because we never need to try to direct the conversation to health or to coaching. You really don't ever have to. They come up naturally all the time. And they're going to come up in ways like this. You, in the course of your conversation, getting to know this person, are going to say, oh, what do you do for a living? And they inevitably, if they're a normal person, will ask back. They'll tell you about it. Then they'll ask what you do. Or they'll say, oh, I see you do some type of coaching, life coach or health coach or something like that. And it's those opportunities where I get to turn around and say, oh yeah, I'm a health coach. I've been doing it for 2 years. It's incredible. I still can't believe I get paid to do this. And I leave it at that. I don't go way into it. And then I will continue on with the conversation, bracketing that piece like we've talked about before, with responding to what they talked about, mentioning the health piece, and then coming back with some more questions to keep the conversation going. And then you'll find over the course of the conversation, there's multiple opportunities to do this. We recently were able to go on vacation to California. We spent like half the month there because I work part-time now. In the course of almost every one of my conversations on Messenger right now, this has come up. Like the fact that we finally dragged ourselves home from vacation, and it's so great and amazing because I'm working so little now.
And it's natural because they see from our Facebook that we were obviously somewhere. We've been traveling. It would be weird actually to be in communication with people and act like nothing is happening. Right? Talk about real life. Be a real person. Your kids are sick?
Yeah.
Talk about it in Messenger. Man, everyone's puking. This is the pits. How's your week going?
Right. And you'll find as you start to really pay attention to some of these things, you're always looking for a way to talk positively, either about your own experience on program, your experience as a coach, the financial benefits, or just the lifestyle benefits that coaching has given you. This comes up all the time. I mean, all the time.
And when you go to health, or when you mention coaching, you then bracket it.
Right. And if you've watched any of our other videos, I talk about this frequently because it's a really effective tool. I learned it on a video once from Doug Wood, and it's basically you're in conversation with somebody and they open the door in one way or the other. They open the door to health or they open the door to coaching. Instead of, even though you're going to be excited because now they've opened the door, instead of going right at them with the first response when you get on that next message is like to respond to whatever they said about the health benefit or the health portion or the coaching portion, I don't do that. The first thing I will talk about is whatever other stuff we were talking about. So if they said, hey, yeah, the weekend was good, we took the kids to the zoo, we had a great time, it was great, and then they say, oh, I see that you like do some sort of nutrition something, I do need to lose a few pounds, like what is it that you do? I will respond to that by replying first to what they talked about. So, oh, your weekend sounded like so much fun. Our kids love the zoo here. It's been too cold to go lately, but we're looking forward to it. We take the kids to the aquarium pretty frequently until it warms up. And then I'll say in the next paragraph, yeah, I'm a health coach actually. I coach this really amazing nutrition program. It's been super beneficial. Like, do you have some health goals? Or I will say, I'd love to share more about it with you. Do you have time on Saturday at 3? We've talked about this before too, like how I have a tendency now to give a date and time because I find that it's easier for people to just respond with, yes, I can be available then, rather than trying to come up with the date and time themselves if you just ask if they have some time in the next couple of days. But then I will finish the message with a new set of questions that don't have anything to do with health. Something about, oh, this weekend we are planning on doing such and such with the kids. What are you guys up to?
Takes the pressure off.
Right. And
they don't feel like you're all about trying to get your thing.
Get them
trying
on the
to promote your thing.
Right.
You're still interested in them.
Because you are, right? You're trying to develop a relationship. So by bracketing the health or the share piece in the other portions of it, you give them the sense that you do genuinely care. You're not only talking to them to try to get them onto a phone call or sell them something.
This might be where if you feel like your conversations fall flat the second that you do talk about health or weight loss, it might be the bracketing piece where there's room for improvement, because like we get so excited, especially in the beginning, you know, and then someone mentions, oh yeah, they need to drop 10 pounds, and we're like, yes! Let's get on the phone. I can't wait to talk to you about it. And the person's like, whoa. Instead, still be excited, also be casual, be confident, be all the things. But bracket it with still real life so that even if they're like, oh, I'm not really ready to talk about health, they can still answer your question about what they're planning to do for the weekend.
Yeah.
And the relationship continues and it's not dead in the water.
Or super awkward.
Or super awkward.
Now, some things that I use when I'm trying to think of questions to ask people, I spend a lot of time talking sometimes about where they live. What's it like? You know, what's the cost of living like? And I talk about for us that we're always looking for new places, you know, to explore, to visit, and whatnot. You will find too, sometimes you're going to have to give up more information about yourself than you normally would to keep the conversation going. Say you have several exchanges with somebody and it's not picking up. You know, they're just kind of still giving you the one sentence or the couple word answers. So in those situations, I might just totally randomly respond to whatever they've said, like, oh, you've been there for 10 years, that's amazing. And then just be like, oh, we've actually been in Salt Lake for 12 years. We really like living here. It's got all 4 seasons.
They're not asking, but we're telling them anyway.
Right, because when you open up a little bit about yourself and are a little bit more vulnerable, you know, they tend to reciprocate. And so you're going to have to carry the conversation a little bit in the beginning. You can't always be looking for, I had, one of my coaches was talking about that they are coaches, excuse me.
No, that one's yours, it must be.
Excuse me. She was talking about when she was trying to find things to message about, she was looking for something she could identify with in people. And to that I was trying to tell her, you're not going to have things to identify with somebody all the time, but you can still develop a relationship and build rapport and start conversations with people that give you very little. You just have to be willing to put a little bit of yourself out there and go ahead and accept that you're going to carry the conversation for a little while until they engage.
That's why how long have you lived there is really useful, because you can have that conversation with anyone. You don't have to have anything in common with them.
Right. You can also ask, you know, once the conversation continues, or depending on the type of group you may have found them in, like how long they've known their spouse, where did they meet, what do they like most about them, just stuff to get to know them. Same thing with kids. What are their kids involved in? There's a whole slew of things you can talk to people about if you're genuinely interested in trying to get to know them a little bit. Now, I said in the beginning that I don't ever want anybody to think that you're going to be carrying on these conversations until the end of time. Remember, we're trying to develop that relationship, to bridge that gap, so that if and when the time comes that somebody is ready or needs a health solution, that they're reaching out to you. So we've been keeping stats on how long these conversations really go on before somebody becomes a client. because we want to make sure that when we're telling you guys this information, that it's backed up by some sort of statistical, like when I say go to the groups and message in there, it's because that's where our clients are coming from. I want all of your time spent doing what you should be doing to generate the most clients.
Also, because Crystal really likes Excel spreadsheets.
And I'm geeky, yes, completely.
So
Dorcas. So
Dorcas.
I hope will make you feel better because it made me feel better. So in the last 6 months, I kept stats on all of the clients who actually signed up and came on program, who became clients with us. And what I have found with the number of months that it takes from when the conversation starts in Messenger, so when I send that first message, to the time that they get on a health assessment, the average period of time is 2.6 months.
Well, let's start by saying we looked at where our clients in the last 6 months came from and what percentage of them came from Messenger, people we didn't know before we started that conversation with them from a group.
Well,
70,
that's interesting. 80. It was 75%. Now, as our business is growing, we're finding more people coming to us, which is what should be happening, right? So our numbers are sort of shifting. But early on, 75% of the clients that came on were generated by conversations we initiated.
From a group with a new friend request.
With new friend requests. And only 25% were from were people reaching out to us or friends and family that came on that way. And I actually have these stats broken down so you can see them, and I'll post it in the comments of this video.
We've talked about it here and posted it more in our coach support page before.
Right. But I've updated them so you can see some recent ones. But so that should make us feel pretty good that from the start of the conversation to when they're getting to a health assessment, the average for us for 6 months, which is about 50 clients, is 2.6 months. That's not a long time. That's pretty fast. Now, the average amount of time between the health assessment and when the client is actually ordering is 1.92 months. What this tells us is a couple things. One, if you're feeling bad because you don't get a bunch of people that sign up on the health assessment, you shouldn't be. 25% of the people that we have done the health assessment with that became clients signed up on the health assessment. So that's a low percentage. So don't feel like you're doing something wrong if they're not signing up right away.
1 in 4 people.
Most people
1 in 4
take up to that 2-month time frame to decide to do this and to come on. Now, where this is really important, and we talk about it with some of the tracking, developing a tracking system for yourself, we cannot fall out of conversation with those people after the health assessment. Because number one, if you stop talking and communicating with somebody after you do the health assessment, after you've spent a couple months talking to them, they're going to believe that you were only talking to them to get them on the phone, which is not what we were doing, right?
The art of the follow-up.
Yes.
A separate video.
A separate video.
But important.
Very important. So you're going to track these people so that you are going back after that health assessment and you're staying in conversation with them. And I don't mean just about health. I mean, of course, after the health assessment, you're going to follow up and you're going to ask if they have any questions and that. But then I ask the next set of questions and stay in conversation.
What are you up to this weekend?
Right.
You want to come over for Thanksgiving?
Okay, no.
What's your bra size?
Because we know that most people come on 2 months between that 2-month period after that. So I got to stay in conversation with them. They got to know that I care. Okay. And then the final stat that I'll leave you with is the amount of time between the start of a conversation and when they actually become clients. The average is 4.56 months. That is not a long time. Okay? That's not a long time to stay in conversation.
The person you started a conversation with today for your 3x3, which should really be more like a 15 by 15 by 4, could be your client in 4 months, guys. Who did you talk to today? Is Jane coming on board? Mikey?
Okay. Now, what
Go find Jane and Mikey.
Yes, find them.
So they can get healthy in 4.5 months.
Yes.
Results vary.
Yes. Now, what I have noticed when you look at the actual numbers and the months in between and you're not looking at the averages, is that people either come on within those first 3 months, conversations start, I'm a client in 3 months, 3 to 4 months, or you're in conversation with them for well over a year. So people either come on and they're like, yes, I'm ready, let's do this thing, and they're conversating with you, or they're going to watch you. That's a word, right? Conversating. Or they're going to watch you for a long time. Now, that's not to say that the conversation's always going to be present every night over that period of time, but there's going to be exchanges. You know, maybe you thank them for like on a before and after, and you talk for another couple of months or whatever it is. But that's the long haul, people. There were very few, when you look at the actual months that came on between that conversating from, you know, the 6 to the 12-month range, which is really interesting, I think. So I think it should make you feel good in that you're not going to be talking forever. You're going to make a lot of great friends out of this too. We're traveling all summer, meeting people that we have met through Facebook, which is a lot of fun. But it's pretty good. Now, what did I want to talk about? Okay, the openings. These are the type of openings that you're looking for, that you're going to see. When it comes to health, things or coaching, especially because I'm focusing a lot on coaching now. So I'm looking for things about their life, like, oh, small comments like, you know what, I never see my wife because she's working so many hours because we made the decision for me to stay at home so that I could be home with the kids, but I never get to see her. They're not asking for anything from me, but that's an opening for me to say, you know what, we were in the exact same boat. I stayed home with our kids while my wife worked. She was working so much she never saw our kids. It's crazy how different our life is now because she's able to work part-time thanks to my health coaching. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Hi, Kelly.
Hey.
And then I carry on with the conversation. We're planting the seed. Other openings, financial stuff. Like, you know, somebody has 2 jobs. We talked to somebody the other night who just recently lost their second job and was going to do something pretty strenuous, I feel like, in order to generate $500 extra a month to cover what they were making from the other job. And I'm like, no, like, let's talk about coaching. You can do that in the first month. Like, let's talk about this thing. That's an opening. Or they talk about a job they hate. Like, I can't stand my job. It's awful. Whereas before I would have been like, oh, that sucks. I would have commiserated with them. But my first thought wouldn't have been, oh, hello. Let's say something about the fact that you love what you do because health coaching is amazing and you feel good all day and you make people feel good and you help people feel good about themselves. You're looking for these small pieces. You don't have to sell them on, you know, try to sell them down the river with the whole thing. You just want to say something positive. So openings to talk about anything positive about your health, your client's health. I will often say, oh, you know what? I had a client who was in the exact same place you are when they first started my nutrition program. It's crazy. I'm sorry that you're going through that. I don't say anything else. I'm not saying, oh my God, let's get on the phone about it. I'm planting the seed because they ultimately...
But sometimes you do say, let's get on the phone about it.
Oh, yeah.
Chronic fatigue.
Yeah, and we've talked about, we've mentioned this before too. You got to have conviction, right? When I'm messaging, and I've noticed lately I say this a lot, and it's become really interesting for me to think about. We're not particularly religious people, but after having done this now...
Lesbians
can be religious. Anyway,
well,
having done this now for 2 years, I can say without any hesitation that this is as close to a miracle for people as anything I have ever seen.
It's a medical miracle.
It's unbelievable. We have had...
Compliance won't approve this.
Probably not. We have had coaches, or we have had clients who were literally throwing up constantly throughout the day because their GI system was in such distress they couldn't even function. We have one woman who, she can't eat soy, dairy, gluten, nightshades. I mean, she's eating toothpicks. I don't know what she's eating. Like, what's even left? But now she's eating everything again. Hypothyroid, Hashimoto's, PCOS. Pain. I mean, those of you that have been coaching for a while, there's no way not to be convicted because you have seen this thing do amazing things. And that's not to say it does it for everybody. I can't promise you're going to get pregnant in the 4th month, but we've seen it, right? You got 90 some odd babies born in the organization we're in to people who were infertile, diagnosed infertile.
Use protection.
Yes, you could get pregnant. Anyway, the point is, there are some occasions when you're messaging where you're talking to somebody and you've dropped the seeds, right? You've talked about it, you've tried to open the door for them, you know, you're going back and forth and they're not biting or they're actively avoiding it.
Or sometimes they're just like so caught in their own like miserable existence that they can't
see it.
Right? They're too stuck in, and it's the kids, and it's my chronic fatigue again, and it's the pain, and then another doctor appointment, and you would not believe this shit. Because now at this point, we've developed a relationship, so they're telling you all their medical stuff.
Right. And that's when you're going to go straight at them with conviction. And you're going to say, listen, enough about this. We're getting on the phone because I know what I do will help you. I know it could change your life or save your life. And I cannot rest until we talk about it.
And walk away from the health assessment with that vibe as well.
Yeah.
I know this is what you're looking for. This can do it.
See, and Kelly Barton Montgomery is on mentioning that her little baby boy, who's the cutest little nugget ever, is an Optavia baby. So many, right? So what I guess we want to leave you with is this process, this messaging, this business where you're messaging and you're in the throes of it, you're in the build, you're finding moments to do this, and it's busy, but it won't be this forever, okay? We're seeing a transition now for ourselves where we're transitioning from constant conversation about health and such to bring on clients into
and your mentorship team will
lifestyle.
help you figure out when you start to transition, and there is a shift, like what it takes to build up to ED, to build up to FIBC, to build up to global is different. You don't do those things and you don't go that hard forever.
Right. And you won't be doing this messaging like this forever either. So if you're in the ship with us right now and where you're in the build and you're working so hard and you're doing the stuff, just know there is a light at the end of the tunnel and that all this work is going to pay off, and you're building yourself such a nice structure with such strength in it from all this hard work that you're going to get to the point where you're not going to be in this piece, this constant messaging piece. And truly, when you get on Messenger and or Facebook and you're doing this stuff, really truly believe that you're developing these relationships, and just be yourself, because you're more attractive to people than you know, and we need each other. We genuinely need each other. You can absolutely do it. And that's it. I hope this was sort of helpful. Look for the openings. Don't look for them to swing the door and hit you in the face. Ask questions, get to know them, look for the opportunities to talk about what we do and why this is the answer that they're looking for.
And if you're new and you kind of feel like there's something there but you can't quite see it, like and I don't know where to go, screenshot it and send it to your mentorship team, because this is what we help do. Okay, you look at it and you're like, I feel like my gut is moving in a direction and it's not just gas. And then you just send it to your business mentorship team and you say, okay, help me pull it, and they can help. They can help you write a response. They can help you find, okay, here's the opening. Here's where we're going to go. If you need help learning how to bracket.
Or you're in conversation with somebody who's doing another direct marketing thing and you're like, that sucks. Ours, what we do is much better and it's much less icky. What can I say to try to open the door to talking about coaching rather than, schlepping mascara or whatever it is. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. Maybe a little bit more all over the place than we normally are, but
we haven't slept in like 6 weeks.
It turns out a newborn at 40 is different than
it's fine.
A newborn at 30.
And we still got to grow our business.
We did. So keep doing the hard work, my people. We're doing this thing. Can't wait to see everybody at convention. I'm so jazzed.
Who wants to come for Thanksgiving?
Why? Bye.